Dear students, you are welcome in the Education Department at SHAHD Association. Our lesson today is The Remarkable Story of Boy David. Make sure to subscribe to our channel for more lessons and don't forget to activate the bell to stay notified. Our objectives are to read the story correctly, to answer comprehension questions related to the story, to find out the meaning of the new vocabularies. Now let's talk about some children's rights. All children have the right to food, clothing, a safe place to live, and to have their basic needs met. They have the right to get help if they have been hurt or badly treated. For today, we will talk about the boy without a face, David. Now let's read the story, The Boy Without a Face. David Lopez was born in December 1974 in the Peruvian jungle. His parents were Campa Indians. When David was 3 months old, he was bitten by a sandfly. He became very ill, and the disease caused serious damage to his face. His father took him on a long and difficult journey through the jungle. They went to a mission in Puerto Ocava. He was told that there was no hope for his son's recovery. David's father decided that the baby was better off in the hospital. He made the sad journey back home without David. Little David was later taken to a children's hospital in Lima, the capital of Peru. Martin Scoffer was a Swiss charity worker. She worked at an institute for children in need. She often took children from the institute to the children's hospital. On one of her visits, she saw David. David was sitting alone in a cot. He seemed to have no face at all. He had only a pair of large brown eyes and a lower lip. Now use the dictionary to find out the meaning of damage, recovery, and charity. Now, what was wrong with David and why? Let's continue. He had a large hole in his face. When Martin spoke to him, he was only able to make noises through the hole. Martin visited David often and always found him alone. She asked if she could take David to the institute. There he would have the company of other children, but the hospital refused. One evening, Martin was watching TV and heard an interview with Dr. Lam Jackson. He was a surgeon from Scotland. Dr. Jackson was visiting Lima and was operating at the St. Philip Clinic. In the interview, he explained how he had reconstructed badly deformed areas of the skull, face, and hands. Martin decided to take David to St. Philip Clinic to see Dr. Jackson. Nobody knows how she managed to get David out of the hospital. but the meeting with Dr. Jackson changed David's life. Dr. Jackson was deeply moved when he saw little faceless David and promised to help. Now, what is the meaning of reconstructed? Now, please answer. What was wrong with David and why? Who found him and where? How did David get out of the hospital in Lima? However, there were some problems because Dr. Jackson's work in Lima was nearly at the end. David had to be taken to Scotland for surgeries. He would need many operations that would cost a lot of money. As a foreigner, his treatment would not be covered by the National Health Services. The hospital where Dr. Jackson worked agreed to waive its charges. That and donations from the local community made it possible for David's treatment to begin. But there would have to be long periods of time between the several operations needed. David would not be able to stay in the hospital between operations. Where would he live? Who would provide him with food, clothing, and education? Now, what is the meaning of surgeries, waive, and donations? What were some of the problems concerning David's move to Scotland? Let's continue. The last problem was solved as soon as David and Martin arrived in Glasgow, Scotland. When the plane landed, Dr. Jackson's wife, Marjorie, met the plane. As soon as she saw little David, she knew she wanted to take him and Martin home with her. Dr. Jackson and his wife decided to adopt David. Mr. Jackson traveled to Biro to meet his parents, who had 8 children. She told them about the surgeries that were not yet finished. They agreed to the adoption. And in 1984, David Lopez became David Lopez Jackson. Dr. Jackson performed more than 100 surgeries on David's face. A movie called The Boy David Story was made of David's remarkable life. Now, how would you describe Dr. Jackson and his wife? Because of his many operations, David could not go to school. A private tutor, Mary Rodriguez, taught him. First, it was very difficult. David had not interacted with anyone in the Lima hospital, so his development was delayed. However, David was a quick learner. In 1979, Dr. Jackson moved from the hospital in Glasgow to a clinic in Minnesota, USA. The family moved there, but the winters were very cold in Minnesota. Dr. Jackson was afraid that the sub-zero temperatures would damage the delicate tissue of David's reconstructed face. Luckily, David's daughter Mary and her family moved to Marbella, Spain. So David spent winters with the Rodriguez family in the warm Marbella. In Marbella, David attended a small school where lessons were in English. During lunchtime, the teacher had David eat his lunch facing the wall. Now, why do you think the teacher in Marbella had David eat his lunch facing the wall? In Rochester, USA, David had many friends. He played football and tennis and went swimming. He had 2 dogs, Bess and Sunshine. When he was in 4th grade, he sent a letter to his friends. He said that his mother spoils him every time he gets out of the hospital. She would give him jelly and ice cream. David also wrote that his dad is the best doctor he knows because he is always checking if David is ready to go home. David is now a grown man and lives in California, where he works as a graphic designer. He does not want to be known as the boy David anymore. In an interview, he said, "I'd like people to know me as something else. That was one part of my life, but now I want to be known as the graphic designer David or the artist David." David's life has been full of challenges. People still stare at David, and he will still need a few more operations on his face, but he is an inspiration to people who can say if he can do it because of what he is inside, what's stopping me from doing what I want to do? I can overcome these challenges. That's all for today, my dear students. Remember to solve your worksheet and send it to me. Goodbye. Thanks for watching. If you liked this lesson, make sure to subscribe to our channel for more, and don't forget to click the bell to get all the updates.